Ladies and gentlemen, children of God, welcome to yet another day. This is the day that the Lord has made. We will surely rejoice and be glad in it. This is day 103 of our Bible reading journey, the 365 Bible reading challenge, the 365 days Bible reading challenge. I always keep forgetting the word days, and it makes all the difference. So it is 365 days Bible reading challenge. It is a resolve and a dedication and a commitment and a consecration to read through the Bible in 365 days. That is in a year. And so this is day 103. That is if you're watching on TikTok. That is a journey we started this year, 2026, on TikTok. But we had started that journey earlier on YouTube in 2024. And then at some point we fell through, at some point we failed, at some point we were not able to make it because of so many becauses. So when this year we started on TikTok and I reached where we had reached with the other team that we had started with on YouTube, I decided to just continue from where we had stopped. That was like Leviticus 20 something, around there. Leviticus maybe 21, 22 or there about. And so now the episodes on YouTube sounds as if they are more than the number of days that we are counted, because on YouTube should be episode 136 for you, but it is the same thing, and we are continuing so well. The Lord has been so gracious. We keep reading, we keep understanding, we keep getting right enlightened. The word of the Lord brings light. It brings light into the hearts of men, and I believe it is bringing light into our lives even right now. So today we are continuing with our journey of reading through the Bible. Today we have a very, very long read, and because we will be reading 1 Samuel chapter number 18, chapter number 19, and chapter number 20. And then we will read Psalm 11, and then we will read Psalm 59. Psalm 59 is longer, Psalm 11 is a short one. So, and by the grace of God, if God allows us, or the Spirit of God allows us, I would want us to do this in 3 parts. This being first part, then we have a second part and a third part. On the third part, we will read Psalms 11 and 59. Then on these 2 parts, God willing, we will read 1 Samuel 18, 19, and 20. Okay? And with that said and done, allow me to start reading. 1 Samuel chapter number 18. This is still the continuation of the story of David. This is now the aftermath of him killing Goliath. Remember, King Saul had promised that he would give his daughter, his firstborn daughter, Meliab, to whoever kills Goliath. And let's hear if he keeps to his promise, or how he takes in the news of David having killed Goliath. And we keep reading. Verse number 1 of 1 Samuel chapter number 18, the Bible says, "And it came to pass when he had made an end to speaking speaking unto Saul, that the soul of Jonathan was knit with the soul of David, and Jonathan loved him as his own soul. And Saul took him that day and would let him go no more home to his father's house. Then Jonathan and David made a covenant, because he loved him as his own soul. And Jonathan stripped himself of the robe that was upon him and gave it to David, and his garments, even to his sword, and to his bow, and to his girdle. And David went out whithersoever Saul sent him, and behaved himself wisely. And Saul set him over the men of war, and he was accepted in the sight of all people, and also in the sight of Saul's servant. And it came to pass, as they came, when David was returned from the slaughter of the Philistine." Now, this is like a recap. The Bible has just given us how David behaved with Saul after the battle, but then we are reminded of what had happened sometime when we were not watching. It's like when you are watching a movie, and then there is a part, and the scripter or the writer of the movie would want to show you why this is happening, or what happened before this, even if it was not in the movie previously. So we are now reminded in verse 6, and it came to pass as they came when David was returned from the slaughter of the Philistines, that women came out of all the cities of Israel, singing and dancing to meet King Saul, with tabrets, with joy, and with instrument of music. And the women answered one another as they played, and said, Saul hath slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s. And Saul was very wroth, and the saying displeased him. And he said, They have scribed unto David 10,000, and to me they have ascribed but thousands. And what can he have more but the kingdom? And Saul eyed David from that day and forward. Another way of looking at this I can take it as a recap, because I'm a movie writer, or we can look at it like maybe after the battle was done, the people did not always disperse to their homes right there and then. They did not just, after the battle, they did not just go home. They would linger a little, and that is why we are being told that now King Saul would not let David go back home. Remember, David going to the battlefield was for him to go and visit his brothers and go back home. But after he defeated Goliath, I think they lingered a little bit. You see? So there are two ways of looking at it, which both of them are okay. And so from there, King Saul did not like David as much. And it came to pass, verse 10, and it came to pass on the morrow that the evil spirit from God came upon Saul, and he prophesied in the midst of the house. And David prayed with his hand as at other times, and there was a javelin in Saul's hand. And Saul cast the javelin, for he said, I will smite David even to the war with it. And David avoided out of his presence twice. So King Saul tried to kill David. Verse 12, the Bible says, and Saul was afraid of David, because the Lord was with him, and was departed from Saul. Therefore Saul removed him from him, and made him his captain over 1,000, and he went out and came in before the people. Now, another thing we see is that Saul would only react like this when the evil spirit came upon him, but we see that he was fighting against it. He still feared God, and this is why because he saw that he will harm David, and he was afraid of harming David because he saw the Lord was with him, and he was afraid of harming an anointed person. He said David should be removed from his presence. So David stopped, playing the harp in front of Saul, and he was made a captain over 1,000 warriors, over 1,000, fighters, over 1,000 men of the army. And verse 14 says, and David behaved himself wisely in all his ways, and the Lord was with him. Wherefore, when Saul saw that he behaved himself very wisely, he was afraid of him. But all Israel and Judah loved David, because he went out and came in before them. And Saul said to David, behold, my elder daughter Merab, her will I give thee to wife. Only be thou valiant for me, and fight the Lord's battles. For Saul said, let not mine hand be upon him, but let the hand of the Philistines be upon him. So, as I've told you, King Saul is trying to fight against fighting an anointed person. He is afraid of killing a person who is anointed of God. And so he devises a way of killing David, but not through his hands. He told him, I'll give you my daughter, Merab, that you may wife him, you may wife her, you may make her your wife, but only after you have fought the battle. So go and fight the Philistines. Go and fight them, because he thought that David would die in battle. Verse number 18, and David said unto Saul, who am I? And what is my life, or my father's family in Israel, that I should be son-in-law to the king? But it came to pass at the time when Merab's Saul's daughter should have been given to David, that she was given unto Adriel the Meholathite to wife. Now, Saul, what is the word? He goes against his promise to David. He instead of giving Merab to David, he gave her to Meholathite. Meholathite was another lord, another leader of a tribe. And David was nothing, and that's why it is introduced in verse 18 by David saying, "Who am I? My father's family is very little. We are very small. How can I become son-in-law to the king?" So I think class wars were here, and Meholathite was given Merab to wife. Verse 20, the Bible says, "And Michal, Saul's daughter, loved David, and they told Saul, and the thing pleased him. And Saul said, I will give him her, that she may be a snare to him, and that the hand of the Philistines may be against him. Wherefore Saul said to David, Thou shalt this day be my son-in-law in the one of the twine. And Saul commanded his servants, saying, Commune with David secretly, and say, Behold, the king hath delight in thee, and all his servants love thee. Now therefore be the king's son-in-law. And Saul's servant spake those words in the ears of David. And David said, Seemeth it to you a light thing to be a king's son-in-law, seeing that I am a poor man, and high and lightly esteemed. So even if David was not given Merab, he did not take it to heart. He said, maybe it's because I'm poor. Verse 24, let us finish this one and then come for part 2 with 1 Samuel 8:19, okay? So verse 24, the Bible says, And the servants of Saul told him, saying, On this manner spake David. David is fighting inferiority complex. And Saul said, Thus shall ye say to David, the king desireth not any dowry, but an 100 foreskin of the Philistines, to be avenged of the king's enemies. But Saul thought to make David fall by the hand of the Philistines. And when his servants told David these words, it pleased David well to be the king's son-in-law, and the days were not expired. Wherefore David arose and went, he and his men, and slew of the Philistines 200 men. And David brought their foreskins, and they gave them in full tale to the king, that he might be the king's son-in-law. And Saul gave him Michal, his daughter, to wife. Verse 28, And Saul saw and knew that the Lord was with David, and that Michal, Saul's daughter, loved him. And Saul was yet more afraid of David, and Saul became David's enemy continually. Verse 30, which is the last verse, and that is where we are going to put a pause for this first part. Then the princes of the Philistines went forth, and it came to pass, after they went forth, that David behaved himself wisely than all the servants of Saul, so that his name was much set by. Okay? So we put a pause at this point. When we come back for part 2, we are going to continue from 1 Samuel chapter number 19 and see how it goes. God bless you.